Welcome to Mississippi State Live here on the Voice of College Football. Andrew Miller joined by Christian Ballard here on a Thursday night. Apologies for our about 14-minute delay. StreamYard was acting up on us. We had to sort through a few things to make sure we got the stream in line, but we're good to go, ready to go. It is our call-in show, so an opportunity for you guys to come and be a part of the stream and give us your thoughts on the Bulldogs. For those of you who are tuning in, we have a link pinned to the top of the live chat. We also have a link in the description of the video. Just click that link. Just keep the camera turned off, and we'll bring you into the stream and let you get your thoughts in about the Bulldogs. I have a couple other things we'll talk about tonight within the call-in show itself. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mississippi State's quarterback situation, as feels we have a little bit more of an answer of the way things may go, but maybe not entirely. We just got another update on the availability report in terms of whether it's going to be Blake Shapen or Camario Taylor in Columbia this weekend. We'll also do our keys to victory for the game, and then we will make our picks for the week within the SEC. But let's start off with the news regarding the quarterback situation. And, you know, when we did this show Monday, based on Jeff Lebby's Monday presser, it really felt like he was almost alluding to the fact that Camario Taylor was probably about to be the guy for Mississippi State. He didn't come out and say it, and he did say that if Blake Shapen were healthy, but he emphasized truly healthy, he would be Mississippi State's starting quarterback. But the way that he was talking about things, the way other players were asked about Camario Taylor and some of the answers they gave, it kind of felt like there was some messaging there of like, hey, Mississippi State may be rolling with the freshman this weekend up in Como. But then Wednesday night, anyway, we did our show Monday really talking as though, hey, we kind of think it's going to be Camario Taylor, and really felt like that was the right move. Wednesday night, we get the initial availability report, and Blake Shapen was actually listed as probable to play. And generally what we've seen with Mississippi State is when a guy's been probable at this point of the week, he has been good to go. Perhaps there's been something different here or there. But by and large, when guys have been probable on Thursday, they have been good. Happy Thursday to you as well, Madison. Thanks for tuning in. Now, the report for Thursday night was just released a few minutes ago, and it was still probable for Shapen. I was kind of thinking another day he would just be off the list at this point. Lebby not fully committing to saying that Blake Shapen will play at this point. But if Shapen's probable, we kind of feel like that probably means we're going to see Mississippi State rolling with Blake Shapen. So, Christian, we did all that talking about Camario Taylor, whether or not we think it's the time to make the move, but it looks like it could be Shapen. Not entirely settled. We don't know for sure yet. But, I mean, what are your thoughts if it is going to be Shapen going up to Missouri, a team that we know has a very good pass rush and a very good defense, things that might work against Shapen, but, I mean, what are your thoughts on that overall, if that's who ends up being the starting quarterback for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, it's been Blake Shapen's team all year long. I've said that on this show and talked about it. And, I think that, um, at this point, you're just hoping to find a way to win one more game. One more game to get to that sixth win, make a ball game, finish off what has been actually a pretty good season for Mississippi State. It's had its ups and downs. You've had some bad moments, you've had some good moments. You've had good and bad with Blake Shapen. When he's healthy and his mindset's in the game, he's a really good quarterback. Um, that being said, if he's ready to go, if I'm Jeff Lebby and company, I'm putting him out there and saying, you're still our guy.
It's definitely Levy's perspective on it. I understand the trepidation of if you're going to say turn to Mario Taylor at this point, going on the road, going to be a night game, very tough defense to go against. That's not really a great game to be easing in a true freshman as your starter. It just feels like State, some way, shape, or form, needs to find a boost offensively, and it doesn't really feel like that is coming with Shapen in at QB. It really feels more like your best chances of making stuff happen are with Camario in at quarterback. Now, look, I think the game situation of what we've seen the last couple of weeks and who they've been facing, does dictate that a little bit. Arkansas, not a very good defensive team whatsoever. Georgia, it was a blowout in the second half, and how is their defense playing in that moment? And look, there's also just the fact of look, you don't really know what you're expecting with a quarterback coming off the bench, and how are you going to react defensively if someone that you've not really game planned for as the starter comes into the game? Because there is a difference between game planning. Look, Arkansas and Georgia 100% were expecting Kamario Taylor to play in that game. They were expecting to see packages with Kamario Taylor in the game. They were not expecting to see him as a guy really leading the offense. And there's a difference in those, because when it's a package, you can say, okay, this guy comes in the game. We have to be wary of quarterback run. Do need to pay attention to the chance of a heavy play action pass. And if it's him and Shapen on the field at the same time, it's probably some sort of a misdirection or a trick play. And that's just, you're going to look at that and say, okay, here are the 3-4 calls that we need to be able to have as a defense in that situation. If you're talking about him running the offense, now it becomes a whole different question of like, okay, well, how much are they going to let him throw, and what type of concepts are they going to let him throw? How is he going to react to a certain coverage? How is he going to react to a certain pressure look? What's he going to do in some of the read games? So you get a lot of situations to come in when a different quarterback enters the game, and how you handle that. And that can impact things in terms of a defense and what you're putting out there. What I'm getting at here is some of the success you've seen for Kamario the last 2 weeks is a little bit, I'm not trying to take away from him, it is a little bit dictated by the situations that he has come into the game. That said, he has taken full advantage of the situation where he stepped in. It has been very impressive. And it just feels like there is a spark that he provides that I feel like if you're State, you want to try and take advantage of and see if you can make something happen. And we'll bring Jacob in here just in a sec. I'm going to finish this point real quick, because we do have our first caller of the night. But it's a tough situation. It's tough. I think your best bet in terms of giving a spark to the offense and just making something happen with Kamario, I understand the perspective of wanting the veteran in there, even at this point of the season, but it's a tricky situation right now. We'll bring our first caller in. Jacob, how are you doing on this evening?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. Before we talk about Mississippi State, I do have a quick question for Mr. Ballard. How do you feel about your team this season? Because you're a Bama guy, if I've heard correctly on the show. How do you feel about how y'all are doing? Starting off bad with the one game, and then really rebounding and looking pretty strong. How are you feeling about them? I wanted to get the perspective of a Bama fan. I've been trying to this week and thought about you.
Well, I appreciate you thinking about me, man. No, it was a tough loss that first week of the season. You have early season losses all over the place. You had it this year. You have it in general, really every year. To bounce back and week in and week out, it's not perfect by any means, especially for our defense. I mean, we struggle with teams, like Missouri, struggle with South Carolina teams, um, or at least I would say Missouri's good enough to where you say, okay, I could get the struggle game there. It's on the road, blah blah blah. South Carolina, struggle win there, not a very good team, down at the bottom of the SEC. So I don't know. I just think with consistency for Alabama, it hasn't really been there. But this is still a competitive team that I think is getting better as the weeks go by and as the games go on. I think they have a tough test at home this week with Oklahoma coming to town, 3:30 kickoff. Um, we're just going to have to wait and see. They got a really good defense over there, got a good offense, good quarterback in John Mateer. So Alabama's going to have their hands full, but hopefully it's not too much they can't overcome. So, but overall, I would say I'm pretty pleased with the progress, but there's still work to be done.
What is your like expectation for them? If you had to pick their record for what they finish at, what do you think it'll be?
No worse than 10-2, depending on how this game goes. Then you got East Illinois and Auburn. Auburn on the road, by the way, this year for the Iron Bowl. So, I mean, maybe they finish 11-1 if they win out, and obviously that only loss coming to the Seminoles. But if it's up to me, I want them to win every single game. I think the expectation
Oh
is
yeah,
to always win a championship. But if you're being real, I don't think you need to put that much pressure on DeBoer in year 2 here. You just want to get into the playoffs or maybe get a SEC title berth and play Georgia or Texas A&M, whoever it ends up being.
for sure. Yeah, I think that y'all losing that first game has actually kind of helped y'all because I think it like whipped you into shape, if you will. Um, you know, just getting y'all's team getting their heads screwed on straight and realizing, oh crap, if we lose another one, we could be in serious trouble. We may not be as big and bad as we think we are. We need to tighten up. And it might have ended up helping y'all because I think I've seen y'all get progressively better as the year has gone on. But anyways, that was just a quick side bit that I wanted to ask Christian about.
Thanks.
I know y'all were talking about the um, quarterback whatever situation before I jumped on. Um, the only thing that makes me like Shapen in any way at this point is the first drives of games. Just about every single game we've played, I think maybe 2 we haven't all year long. We've gone out and we've scored on the scripted drive. I feel like when the team is gelling and everything's moving together with first drives of the game, we tend to do really good with shaping in. Then after that, we just go dead silent because with him, it is very easy for opposing teams to make second quarter adjustments. I feel at least because he is so normal and he's not flashy. He doesn't have a lot of that raw talent that quarterbacks in the SEC have these days. And so I feel that having him in limits us and allows other teams to make really quick second quarter adjustments and even, back half of the first quarter adjustments. And so if I were Jeff Lebby, and I'm not, I wish I was, but I'm not. um, then I would start him for the first drive, and from there out, pretty much do a 2 quarterback system the rest of the game. Ride whoever's playing better.
I could see that. Look, I think Shapen coming out and executing what they've been working on the entire week makes a lot of sense. And you're right, they have been successful on those drives to this point. Look, I do think there may be a point to be had that against the style of defense you're facing in Missouri, pass rush aside, which that is a huge caveat, obviously, because it is so impactful in this game. Some of what you're going to see with Missouri does lend to, okay, do you have a quarterback that can just consistently take what the defense is going to give you? And that's probably where you would trust Shapen just a little bit more, especially early in a game. Now, look, the other side to it, even if you're talking about getting Camario in his first start on the road against a good defense, as I was kind of talking about, where I do think some of the success he's probably had the last couple of weeks is predicated on the fact that defenses don't fully know what type of game plan they need to have in place for him. I think the same thing would apply even in this game because you don't have a full sample set yet on what he's been able to do. So how would Missouri handle that if he's in the game as a quarterback? And then to your point, how quickly could they adjust to that? That's another thing. You talk about the 2 quarterback system thing, and I think you have got to find ways to give Camario drives in this game, even if Shapen starts. But what I do not want to see is what I talked about after the Georgia game, which is the second we see Camario come into the game is after State gets a big play to get down to into Georgia territory. It's on the possession where they go for the 4th down that stalls out there late in the first half. And Shapen gets some good pass down the field, and they get into Georgia territory, and then Camario comes on the field. And then they get a penalty, and they keep Camario on the field, and it's 2 plays that go nowhere, and then you have to bring Shapen in on 3rd down, and then the subsequent 4th down. And there's a lot – I see that, and there's a lot of me I'm all for getting Camario reps, but if Shapen has a good drive going, don't pull him off the field. The exception to that being if I get into a 3rd and short or in a have to have it situation, I fully understand wanting to bring Camario in the field because that's a situation where we got to convert. Let's not worry as much about the tempoing into it. Let's get into the right personnel package and find a way to plow ahead, and that's where Camario is going to give you more of an edge. But if I get a big positive play down the field, I'm not looking to substitute. And it goes the other way as well. If I'm going to give Camario a drive, let it be Camario's drive and see if he can make something happen. Heck, even if you get into a 3rd and long, see if he can make something happen because he's someone that on a 3rd and long could still use his legs and find a way to convert or extend a play and somebody comes open. So if it is a 2-quarterback system, I think Levy's going to have to be smart about how he brings guys into a certain spot. But look, there's pros and cons. It's not an easy decision. I think for the fan base, it's pretty cut and dry. And look, I'm leaning in the camp of I would just like to see Camario at this point because I want to see someone else lead the offense and see if it can lead a spark and change something. I do understand why it's not as cut and dry for Levy and why there is more to it.
Yeah, I get that too. I think that if you run the 2-quarterback system, it does not need to be a what was the Ole Miss one a few years ago? Plumlee and what was the other
Corral.
guys? Corral. Yeah, Corral. I don't want to see is something like that where you're constantly changing them out in between drives. And, if it's a running play, this guy's probably going to be in. If it's a passing play, this guy's probably going to be in with few exceptions, just to keep them honest. I would much rather see you get a drive, then you get a drive, then you get a drive, or you play until you don't give us points for a drive. If they force a punt while you're on the field, the other one's going in until Missouri forces a punt with him on the field, and switch it back and forth like that instead of just constantly changing them out, with the rare exception of a 4th and 1, and they don't want to put Chapin in a situation where he's going to get injured or something on a QB sneak, and the traditional packages that we saw Taylor come in at the beginning of this year.
I agree that riding the hot hand is a part of it. And look, I don't necessarily love the idea of switching from back and forth with one drive to the next either. And I know it kind of sounded like I was advocating for that, but I also get if Shapen is your starter and he leads a touchdown drive on the first to open up the game, I don't want to say don't put him back out there for the second drive and immediately go to Camario. Like, okay, let's see if you can continue it. But I kind of get what you're saying. As soon as things start to stall out, like, okay, let's go to the freshman and see what happens. And people push back against that because of what it does for your quarterback's confidence, what it does from a momentum standpoint and a guy getting into the rhythm of the game. But the reality of the situation is if you're Mississippi State at this point, you've got to find ways to generate offense, which is a weird thing to be saying because considering who your coach is, but that's the situation you're in right now. And if that means making a change at quarterback in a given moment, you got to be able to do that. But yeah, no, the old talking about the list thing from a few years ago, that was literally a situation where if it was 3rd and long, they were bringing Corral in. It was like Plumlee was going to be the quarterback, and then if it was 3rd and long, okay, Corral's got to come in because we need to throw the ball, which is just a stupid, terrible way of handling it.
Yeah, was that with sorry I cut you off, Christian. Their coach before Kiffin, right?
Yeah, that was the year before. It was 2019. Matt Luke was still the head coach.
Yeah, that's
the coordinator was Rich Rod.
Mm-hmm. I was fixing to say, what if you ran it? Could you see it like a I'm trying to think of what year that was. 2018 Alabama. You remember when Tua took Jalen Hurts' spot and Jalen didn't transfer? Now it's not the exact same situation in terms of that. However, could you see a scenario where maybe you use both guys on one play? I mean, do you use one that's more mobile and maybe try to see if you can get him the ball from the other quarterback or something like that, or just use his legs to pick up yardage and then
they've done that this year.
Yeah, I think it worked, didn't it?
They hit one big play. They hit a couple big plays against Alcorn, which I don't really
Oh,
care.
I didn't even watch the entirety of that game. I was,
Well,
I
like
don't
the
remember.
second touchdown of the game was the trick play with both of them on the field, and the ball, it was like a reverse to Camario, and then he threw it downfield on a dot to Brennan.
Okay, I think I might remember that, but I'm talking. I think they tried it once in like a
They did it
conference
against Tennessee.
game.
They ran a
Yeah.
reverse against Tennessee, and it got like 5 yards.
Okay, not a huge sample size. I don't feel so. I mean, I'd like to see that. I want to see us try, new, different things. I've said that a couple times on here. I want to see us try different, new, innovative things, not just all the same. It's what we do. And I posted that on a message board. Not, I think it was before the Georgia game, and somebody came at me saying, "Oh, that's a Powell State mentality," and I'm just like, "No, it's a you're the underdog mentality." I don't care. It has nothing to do with. I wouldn't care if we were Alabama and we were 7-5 playing a 11-0, 11-1 Georgia team in the champ. That would never happen. But you get my point. That's not a. That's a. This team has more talent than you objectively, and so you need to try new, innovative things. If we were better and we were on their level, then talent wise, which I hope we are in a couple years, and I believe we can be, then you absolutely should just do what you do. But whenever you're playing really good opponents that have had a coach for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and yours is in year two, it's not a poor old state mentality. I don't feel, at least. You're welcome to disagree with me. To have that opinion.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with the idea of trying to find ways to be successful. And look, that's something with Levy this year that I've been a little bit questioning of, because look, I kind of go back and forth between the idea of doing what you do and also having an offense that changes every single week. I really don't love the idea of we're going to try something just for the sake of trying it. That's something that kind of, to be fair, was a criticism of mine for a lot of coaches on this tree for a long time before we ever knew Levy was going to be here. Just because there's times I watch Kendall Briles does it more than the others, but Levy's done it some. It kind of feels like every single week it's like, here's you watch them as OCs, and here's 3, 4, maybe even 5 calls that you're not going to see once again for the entire rest of the season. But it's something we thought would work this week to put it in practice, and just kind of, sometimes it's like throwing it at the wall and just hope it sticks. And a lot of times they work, a lot of times not as effective. Whereas, with Leach, it was very much, hey, we're going to do the thing we do every single week. And, maybe
Yeah.
we change a formation, maybe we change a motion a little bit, but we're doing the same thing every single week. And that approach, I am a little bit more in favor of, just because I think there is a point to be had of like, get good at doing the things you can. But I think there's got to be a balance between it as well, where you have to know if nothing is working, we got to find a way to do something new. We got to find a way to put in something that might be successful. And I feel like this year, even less so than last year, because last year I felt like we would see Levy get a little bit more creative at moments. This year, it's like there will be a new concept pretty much every game. There's something they do new. But I feel like the idea of we put in this play and it's something that we thought would work perfectly in this game, you just don't get as much of it. And the idea of, hey, we're scheming something up this week. It's not like this is something we think will work perfectly in this game, and we should hit a big play off of it. Haven't seen a lot of it this year. Is that a matter of shaping and not being able to execute? Is it a matter of Levy feeling like his guys, they got to work with what they have and just they're going to stick to a few things? I don't know, but I agree that I would like to see them find some ways to get creative and be able to move the football. And it feels like they haven't done that enough. I would definitely like to see some of that in this game.
I think it's a product of, this is going to sound a little blunt, but Levy being scared. He's a first year head coach. He's used to having a boss. And yeah, he has Zach Selman above him right now, but he doesn't really have like a direct boss he reports to. And I think that he's learning how to take risks as a head coach without having somebody behind him that's going to say, no, you're being ridiculous and going too far. You need to tone it down some. And I think he's trying to self regulate, and he is having, trouble self regulating that. And he's probably over regulating a little bit too much, if that makes sense.
No, that's a possibility. Like, you get into a spot like this, and do you want to handle it the same way? And look, been plenty aggressive with the 4th down calls, but perhaps in terms of aggressiveness and the play calling itself has been a little bit of everything. And like I say all this because I watch our offense and literally it is the same like 5 pass concepts over and over and over. Like they've got their little array that they're going to work with. They'll change the presentation. They'll change which receiver runs which route, all that. They'll do it out of different formations, motions, all that kind of stuff. They do the same things over and over and over again. And, sometimes it's kind of just mixed results in terms of how successful it actually is. So, yeah, finding different ways to make something happen, I certainly agree with. And you can do that with the quarterback position for sure. But I think you want to find a way to get that spark, and there's something to be said for just the playmaking ability of Camario, and can he just make something happen? You'd like to see him have the chance.
For sure. All right, well, before I go, what are y'all's thoughts on the outcome of the game?
Well, you got to wait till the end of the show.
Oh, I got to wait to the –
Yeah,
that's
dude.
right. Sorry. Well, I'll give
make
mine
sure
then.
you don't turn it off.
Yeah, what's your prediction? Go
ahead. Mine is I think that we have a very good shot to win just because of the matchup. I don't know a ton about Missouri's defense, but I know that they're on their third string quarterback right now, and it did not go very well for them last week with him. A&M, just slaughtered them. And so I think that we can just load the box, rush 8, rush 7. I mean, just go crazy stopping the run because their only real playmaker to me, I mean, they have some good wide receivers, but the only main guy is Ahmad Hardy, their, beast of a running back. And I think if you stop him and eliminate him, then you force that guy to throw, then our cornerbacks and safeties are going to have a field day, and I think we're going to force a lot of turnovers.
I think it's possible. I think playing aggressive on defense is going to be a big part of things, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with we win by 10 points. I'm feeling good. I'm going to go with we win by like 10 points in a fairly low scoring game, but not really like a 28-31 to 21-17, maybe 24, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Feeling good.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank y'all very much for having me. God bless. Y'all have a nice night.
Yeah, you have a good one as well. Becoming a regular here. So, yeah. And he already left.
Love that.
I was gonna bring him out.
Oh,
no, becoming a regular part of the show. Glad to have him.
Should we – Trey Clark is here. He says he's late again. Should we start the show over or something?
Yeah. No. Sorry, late. How do we stop outside zone? Yeah, Missouri's going to run a lot of outside zone. Do they call it outside? Some coaches who major in outside zone get very pissy if you call it outside zone. It's like, no, it's wide zone. And the whole reason is this is getting into football coach mentality. Outside zone is not technically supposed to just hit outside always. And they think if you call it outside zone, the players think they have to get to the outside. But there's supposed to be an idea of, hey, you can run this between the tackles. Watching Old Dominion, who runs Mississippi State's offense, and I want them to tamper with this receiver and get him to come to Starkville next year. That's how I am viewing things right now. No, but I think Missouri does just call it outside zone. I don't know if they call it wide zone, but yeah, a big part of it is, one, you do have to set the edge because technically – yes, if the play were to just hit the way it's meant to be blocked up, you get the outside sealed and you're able to get around the edge. It's just the play is also versatile enough that you don't have to run to the outside. You have to set the edge, you have to set a hard edge, and then you also have to get penetration up front. Really, a lot of it is not allowing linemen to climb to the second level. And it's finding ways to clog up cutback lanes. That is the big thing. Is because you can set the edge on outside zone, but if you leave the A and the B gaps open, it doesn't matter because the running back's going to cut back and get upfield. So really, it's gap discipline up front, and your linebackers and safeties have to be really good about filling downhill. You need guys to be able to plug holes up front, and then those other guys come downhill. So it's easier said than done. There's a reason teams love to run that play quite a bit. Mississippi State runs that play quite a bit. And it's one of their top runs this season. But it's a concept that literally you can make it the foundation of your entire offense, and really that's what Missouri does. Missouri offensively is what Mississippi State was supposed to be in 2023. When Zach Arnett hired Kevin Barbe, the idea was to run the style of offense that Missouri runs. And again, because they make outside zone their foundational play and then build everything off of that. And State actually got okay at running the outside zone, but they didn't do anything in terms of being off of it. So, yeah, that's going to be a big part of it for this game, is being able to deal with outside. And we have Trey joining the show. Hello.
Hey, guys. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Good deal. You were talking about wide zone, I guess, to be more precise. But other question I haven't seen the availability report tonight. Andrew, have you seen it?
I have. I was actually going to get into it.
So yesterday, I think Reese was probable and Shapen was probable. Is that still what we're looking at?
Same thing. It's the exact for States. I think for both teams, exact same as it was last night.
Okay. And I noticed Pribula, however you said the name of the guy, he was, I think, doubtful. I guess he's still showing up as doubtful.
Yeah, they never set a hard timeline, I think, on whether or not he would play. Most everyone has said that you would not see him again in the regular season, but I guess they did not want to make it official.
Yeah.
So he's still listed as doubtful. Brett Norfleet, the tight end for Missouri, questionable. That's a big deal. He's a big weapon for them and is also a very good run blocker. Let's see. They have Langdon Kitchens, like a backup defensive lineman. The other two injuries are guys that have been out for a long time. And then for State, and I know you know this, but we'll just hit it anyway. Like you said, Shapen and Albert Reese both probable. That'd be really big if they could get Albert Reese back. This is a game you have to have him. Isaac Smith is out. Jet Jefferson's still out, which I know he's been out for a while. And, I mean, that's not trying to diminish him because that's a guy coming into the season. We were talking about, like, based on rumors and based on practice reports, it's like, oh, that might be the guy at corner. And actually, he wasn't. But, like, the other guys who are out are basically guys State's mostly been without this season to begin with. No Javen James on the report, which is a big deal because after he went down against Georgia, I think a lot of people assumed, all right, that might be 2 tackles down in this game. If assuming Reese goes, you should have your technical starters. I know Blake Steen was the starter to begin the year, but could be in an okay place line-wise going into this one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So last week, James was at right. Jimothy Lewis was at left. And so I'm wondering if Reese is back, does he slide back in at right? And if so, do you move James back over to left, or do you go with Lewis at left? I know on Steve's show, I guess it was his Wednesday Boneyard, and he said, don't be surprised, if Reese is back, if he's in a different spot. And he's been being at right tackle. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that, but I'm just wondering, to get the best 5 out there, if we think James is ahead of Lewis, then you slide either Reese or James to left and the other one at right. I don't know, just or maybe at guard. Maybe you put Reese at guard. I know he worked a lot of there in fall camp, and maybe you leave tackles as is. But if you got any thoughts on that,
I would not love putting him at guard. It's so funny because coming into the season, we literally did a big part of an episode, like, concerned because Albert Reese was named as the starting left tackle, and it's like, what does that mean? And we have found out what it means. It was, 1, he was playing good at tackle, but 2, the other guys weren't ready yet. While I do think he probably could be really good at guard, he has been good enough at tackle for the most part this season that I wouldn't want to put him in there when everyone else they have trotted out at tackle has been far more questionable. Javen James has been fine. Not great, but he's been serviceable. Jimothy Lewis, God bless him. We'll see if he puts it all together because we know the talent is legit. He's just not there yet. And Luke Work, the opportunities he's had at tackle this season have not looked great. You could see why they moved him to guard this offseason, that he's just probably better in that spot. I wouldn't hate if they chose to go ahead and put Reese back at left tackle just to, protect the blind side a little bit better. I mean, is that a position he can handle as well? We don't know, but I understand that mindset of we don't want – look, Shapen's taken a couple hits off his blind side this year where he's gotten wrecked. So I think that now look, there were times Reese was at right tackle and got beat for pressure, but at least then as the quarterback, you can see it and ideally try to escape it. I would understand wanting to protect him better, so I wouldn't hate that move.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a guard either. I think it would not surprise me if he jumps over to left and leave James at right. I think the way the staff looks at it right now, it's Reese, then James, then Lewis in that order as tackles. So I think they're going to want Reese and James starting at tackle, and then it's just a matter of which one of those guys are going to play left. You know, earlier in the year, James was at left and Reese was at right, but I don't know if that's what we'll see again. But I think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on Saturday.
For sure. No, I think Reese is better at a right tackle than he is left. But at the same time, he is far and away your best offensive lineman. And at a certain point, you just got to put your best guy there, right? So
yeah, I think the real problem here is we don't have a left tackle. I mean, that we feel comfortable. We got 3 that might be serviceable at right, but I just don't feel like we have anybody that would feel good at left.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't even say they were banking on Jimothy getting there this year because at the end of the day, he's a redshirt freshman, right? So even though with the talent that he has, and yeah, a big-time lineman, you're hoping those guys can step in as a redshirt freshman and be the guy right away. But I could understand saying that he might take a couple years. I think that was some of the report on him coming out of high school, that incredibly talented but also very raw. And it's kind of like, hey, he's got the physical tools, but it's going to take a couple years to put it together. But they weren't able to go out into the portal and get a guy who is a surefire tackle. And it's hurt this season for sure. I think the interior group has mostly been good. I know Zach Owens really the last month has not been as good, which is why I know you're seeing more of Trevor Mayberry step in. But they've been mostly fine across the interior. It's just the tackle situation's been so rough. And obviously with the edge rushers you're facing in the SEC, that's problematic.
Yeah, it's killing you. Last point on that, and then I'll hop off. I know I joined late. I'm not sure if you guys have gotten to picks, but I know that you need to do that. So last thing, and it's on the OL. You mentioned Luke Work, and I agree. And it's weird because last year it felt like, I'm not saying he was good when he was put in as a true freshman, but he held his own a little bit and was at least serviceable. And then, Jacoby's an older guy. Mayberry's been around. I feel like the O-line should be progressing and getting better. And I feel like it hasn't. At least last year with Kennedy, as much as we struggled towards the end of the year, the run game got going a little bit and the OL seemed to get better. And so the question is that a load hold issue? I mean, do we have a field load hold issue that we need to talk about? Or is it just, hey, these guys aren't talented enough? I know they're not great, but I feel like they should at least be getting better.
I think it is a totally fair question. And it's weird because load hold is a guy that's pretty highly respected. I saw a lot of people when that hire was made who felt like that was a really good move. And I'm not talking about Mississippi State fans. But you're right. Last year, there was progression over the course of the year. Now, pass protection was never really that good. They held their own to the Egg Bowl, for what it's worth. They held up pretty good in that game, but against the best pass rush they faced all year, which was so weird. But right, the run blocking got better over the course of the season. Doesn't feel like that's been the case this year. Is it a matter of the injuries? Look, that is something to be said. Continuity is a big part of offensive line success. And last year, for all the struggles they had, they basically kept the same group in place throughout the year. Mykylin Pounders missed one game because he got sick. And that's when, Luke Work first stepped in. But after that point, they were basically working with the same group. So I think there was a little bit of a level of guys staying together and that helping out. The injuries they've had this year have probably hurt things quite a bit in that they're constantly rotating. But you're right. You brought in enough pieces. You felt the group would be better than they are. Pass protection is just as bad as a season ago. And in terms of their run blocking, they have not had a ton of success. Now, I think some of it is also a matter of teams being a little bit more willing to just be aggressive against Mississippi State. Because they know if we send pressure and we don't let them run the ball, we're probably going to have a lot of success. Which kind of goes against how you would typically defend this style of offense, which is try to play more bend, don't break, and don't give up the big play. But, yeah, it is a question. I don't think you're going to change, O-line coach after this season. I think Load Hold's going to be the guy for at least another year. But it's going to be a big thing to watch next season. Is like if you have a bad offensive line 3 years in a row, that's a big problem. They've got to get to next season a level of competency up front.
Agree, and it's I know it's killing. Levy, he's an OL guy by trade, right? And so I heard him mention in the presser, I think it was last week, and they had a question about OL play, and he said, not making an excuse, but the question was about injuries, and he said, yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen in however many years of coaching. And that's fair. I mean, you're right. You think about Steen. Lewis has missed, it seems like, Reese seemed like half the year, Steen the whole year, so I know that's a big part of it. But anyway, going to jump off, enjoy the show, try to talk to you guys next week, and I'll take the points and State to cover. Night.
There we go. No, thanks for joining in. We
Frank.
appreciate your interaction. Glad to have you come and be a part of the show.
Yeah.
All right. Any thoughts from you? I know you haven't said much.
Nah, I just been trying to just kind of make sure everything's in order for me as far as some notes and stuff. But I think with this game, I know we do our keys to victory on the Monday show and everything, but for Mississippi State in this game, man, like this isn't going to be the toughest opponent they face like all year long. Now, is it going to be a challenge? For sure. Missouri's dealing with some injuries. They're dealing with, having a loss or two and, having some close games here or there as well. So I don't know. I think for State to win this game, I would say you have to take away the run game from Missouri, make their quarterback have to throw, which it's not something he's bad at. They're not bad at, with the passing offense. They're not bad, but make him have to throw. And then hope that Mississippi State's pass rush can amp up for this game, bring the heat, bring the pressure. We talk about keys to victory usually on Mondays. I'm bringing some to the table tonight.
You're getting your days mixed up. It's a Thursday night thing. I was about to hit him.
Well,
now.
I know. I'm just saying I'm bringing some Monday action on a Thursday night.
No. What I'm saying is Thursday night is our keys to victory night.
Oh, never mind. Whatever.
Yeah,
but I'm bringing it here.
He's been working all day. He's tired.
Yeah, I am tired.
Let's get into it though. I was about to hit keys to victory. So no, you have the right day to be talking about it today. And look, you hit the first one, and it is somehow, some way you got to stop the run. I don't know what they're supposed to do because I have seen State this year sell out to stop a run game and say that we're loading the box, we're going to trust our DBs to hold up and force the quarterbacks to have to make a play, and it hasn't mattered. Teams have still been able to run on them. And I think Missouri is going to go into this game hell-bent on running the football. And again, we talked about it there with the outside zone thing. Missouri is a team that's very good at running outside zone. Outside zone has gashed Mississippi State this year. They're just not good at stopping it because they don't have the bodies up front to really deal with it. It gives them problems. You got to figure it out in this game. And I don't know what the answer is to that. I really do not know. I can't tell you schematically what they need to do. And I know magically you can't go out and get better players. But this has got to be a game where you are doing everything in your power to get Missouri into long yardage situations where they have to throw the football. Zollers is a talented player, and I'm sure he'll be fine with time. And maybe in a second start, he'll be a little bit better off, especially against a State defense that's not been great this season. But if he's having to go and throw against a State secondary and not doing it off of play action where they're getting the run game established, then he's probably not going to have a great day. And I would trust State's defense to be able to make plays. But again, you've got to slow it down. And look, Ahmad Hardy has been incredible. Jamal Roberts, the other running back, is incredible. The only thing for State that you do need to keep in mind, though, is fortunately for them, Zollers is not a run threat. If Pribula was in the game, you've got to deal with QB run. Zollers is not a runner. So you can kind of key in, and it is take away the running back. Like that is the key in this. But look, you can key in on that all you want. If your D line's getting blown off the line of scrimmage and pushed back 2-3 yards immediately at the snap, it's not going to matter. But if you're State, you've got to do that. Next thing for me, and it's the other side of the ball, and we were just talking about it with offensive line. State's O-line is going to have a great day. And this is regardless of who's in at quarterback. If it's Shapen, and I feel like at this point it's probably going to be Shapen, Missouri's pass rush, the defensive ends especially, those are guys who are very talented. You cannot let them feast. Like, you've got to do things to protect your quarterback and give him to opportunities in the pocket. Shapen has to do his part by getting the football out on time and be able to navigate the pocket better. But this can't be a situation where the ball is snapped and immediately you got pressure coming home. The O-line has got to perform well. They got to perform well in the run game too. State's not a team I think can consistently sit back and throw the football 35 times and be successful. And they've had to do it a few times recent weeks. Arkansas was more of a pass-happy game, and they had success. Texas was more of a pass-happy game, and up until the fourth quarter, they had some success. They're going to have – they can throw the ball some, and throwing it, you may be a little bit more effective against Missouri than running it. I'll talk on that here in just a sec. But you cannot allow the defensive line to just be dominating this game. State's O-line has got to step up. And look, if it's Kamario Taylor, you're expecting to have to run the football more in general. And sure, Kamario is a number in the run game. That helps out. But it's the same, like, still, even if you're just running the football, like, if you're not getting it blocked up front, it doesn't really matter how elusive he is. And in the pass protection side of things, you can't let him get under pressure either. So State's O-line, it's got to be a big day for them. Finally, the other thing, defensively, this is very much a game where I think you have to take what they give you, and just when you have an opportunity at a big play, take advantage. And I know that's all very basic, very cut and dry. And look, I mean, this is just a cut and dry week, right? Stop the run, don't give up pressure, and then take what the defense gives you. Like, man, you can apply that every single week and every single game. But really, look, Missouri's defense is good. But if you start to break it down a little bit, look at their pass defense within the conference. They're number 1 in the SEC in yards per game allowed overall. In conference, they're number 5 in yards allowed. But I don't really care about the yards allowed. Yards per attempt, they're down at number 8. Passer rating allowed, and this is in conference games, they're 12th. Completion percentage allowed, they're 11th in conference play. So in SEC play, Missouri's secondary has not necessarily been dominant. They've been a team you can throw on a little bit. As we have Jackson Johnson, we'll add him here just in a sec as I finish up this point. You can move the ball in Missouri some. The run game is kind of the same way. Their rush defense has been fantastic this season from an overall number standpoint. But every single week, teams are able to pop big runs against Missouri. Like, you kind of have to just work at it a little bit. But every single week, if you're consistent with it, somebody has hit a big game-changing run against Missouri. And I think they're down, again, bottom half of the SEC in yards per attempt allowed against, like, winning teams. Now, Mississippi State's not a winning team, but it's not a dominant defense. It is a good defense statistically, but there are ways to be successful. They don't give up a lot of big plays, but when you have those opportunities, you got to find them. If State can do those things and be more just consistent down by down, then they're going to have a chance. Let's add Jackson in. How's it going?
How you doing tonight, good
brother?
buddy? Long time no see.
to see
Chris,
you.
how have you been, man?
Good, man. How's it going with the Alabama channel, man?
Oh, it's going all right. We got past 3,000 subs, and we're
There
going
you go.
we're looking to get the 3,500 subs and 4,000 subs. But
Y'all
I
heard
want-
them.
huh?
I said y'all heard them. Go subscribe, man.
There we go. But I was going to say a little bit about Mississippi State, Missouri for a moment, because that is going to be quite a battle for bowl eligibility for Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. No, I think if you told a lot of State fans for the year you'd have 5 wins with 2 games to go, pretty much everybody would take it. Give yourself a chance going into the last couple of weeks to make a bowl. There's obviously been the way the Florida game ended and then blowing the lead against Texas. That's been tough dealing with that, but
And
you're in a position
Tennessee
to get to a bowl if you can get a win here over the last 2 weeks. Not going to be easy, but they're going to have chances.
I feel like to be for real, this is gonna sound weird, but I'm liking Mississippi State's chances more against Ole Miss than I do Missouri. Not to say that I don't think they can beat Missouri. It's just that I feel like Mississippi State would love nothing more than to spoil any shot of going to the SEC title for Ole Miss and basically see if they could spoil any playoff hopes. I mean, if Ole Miss is 10-1, I mean, I don't think that's going to spoil playoff hopes.
Yeah, I think they're locked in. If they win this weekend, I think they're safe either way. But you're right. Look, the Egg Bowl, there's always the bragging rights aspect of it. There is always the, can you ruin something a little bit for the other team? And look, State has been big underdogs in the Egg Bowl each of the last 2 years and they've made it a competitive game. So can you do the same thing this year in Starkville? You know, it's certainly a possibility. And I don't think it's crazy to say that, yeah, the Missouri game compared to Ole Miss, I think State probably matches up with Ole Miss better than they do Missouri, despite Ole Miss being the better team.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Also, don't forget, next weekend, Mississippi State on a bye, an extra week to rest up and prepare for rivalry weekend.
Same for Ole Miss, unfortunately. They're also on a bye.
Yeah. I mean, may the better team win, I guess. Anyway.
Well, I don't want to say that because they are the better team. But
I wish they would put that game on Thanksgiving Day instead of Black Friday, but maybe that's
it should be on Thanksgiving. Hasn't it been on Thanksgiving for like the past, I don't know, decade and a half?
It was, but last year they didn't have it on Thanksgiving. They had it on Black Friday. This year they had it on Black Friday. So I know that they've had it on Black Friday in 2007 when it was on like the Jefferson Pilot Sports Channel, and
that's right.
And same way in 2008 where it was on your local affiliate for Black Friday.
Hey, when's the last time? Let me ask you something, Jackson. Being an Alabama guy, when's the last time the Iron Bowl was not on the Saturday after Thanksgiving? Was
2010.
2010? Was that a Friday?
Yep, Black Friday. 2009, 2010 were Black Friday games for Alabama Auburn. I believe 1987 was a Black Friday game. 1974 was a Black Friday game. 1964, matter of fact, was a Thanksgiving Day game where you'll see that black and white highlight reel Ray Ogden returning a kickoff return against the Auburn Tigers. 1992, Brent Musburger was at the call on ABC on Thanksgiving Day for the Iron Bowl.
I remember not like in person watching it, but I have watched some old ones on YouTube. So, but anyways, back to Mississippi State.
I would explain. Here's the State Ole Miss perspective on it all. The reason it's not on Thanksgiving right now is ultimately because ESPN is punting on college football, like trying to have any kind of a big time game on Thanksgiving.
That's such a dumb move by ESPN.
It's the ESPN thing, and like this is not even a State Ole Miss thing. Like back in the day, obviously you had Texas A&M, and I kind of thought they might try to bring that back to Thanksgiving because of those two fan bases and those two brands. And I also think both of those schools said we don't want to do it. But
I got one game on Thanksgiving.
Here's the thing: State fans and Ole Miss fans kind of feel the same way, and I understand why everyone loves it on Thanksgiving. Like, I think nationally people love it on Thanksgiving because it's like, hey, we get this rivalry of like these two teams that hate each other, and it's a fun thing to watch on a Thanksgiving night, and people enjoy the Egg Bowl from that perspective. I also think, and I'm just being honest here, from reading the way people talk about it outside of State and Ole Miss, there is some meme culture to it where it's become kind of a meme with the Egg Bowl because of the stupidity that happens in that game. I've seen it from other fan bases. I'm just saying. Some people, I think, make it a little bit of a bigger deal than it is, and that's why they kind of love it on Thanksgiving. I don't hate it on being on Thanksgiving. No. I'm fine with it because I love Thanksgiving football. I think it's a fun tradition. When I was in school, it wasn't fun because Thanksgiving was my favorite holiday, and I wanted to be able to go home and stuff my gut. But we get the game on Thanksgiving night, and like it was still fun. The fan base it's just there's a lot of people who do not want to have to try to go to the game on Thanksgiving because they have all of their Thanksgiving stuff going on, and there's a lot of people that are like, I would be able to go to the game, but not if it were played on Thanksgiving. And that's kind of where the fan base perspective on it are. Like I've seen both State and Ole Miss fans are kind of in alignment that there's a percentage who like it just because it's, where I do think there's the pushback is people talk about the exposure of it all. That was the argument for a long time. It's like, well, look, you're the one big college football game being played on this night.
Mm-hmm.
The viewership numbers for the Egg Bowl being played on a Thanksgiving night, people have compared it. It actually does not rank super high in the weekend of college football and rivalry weekend. A lot of people watch the game, but the fact that you've got the NFL going right against it hurts it.
Hell, I'll flip between both of them if I have to.
Look, I'm just telling you, like the numbers do not necessarily bear out that you get more people watching the game because it's played on Thanksgiving. I think last year the viewership, I don't know what the viewership was because state sucked so much, but like that afternoon window on ABC.
Well, it's definitely higher than Navy Memphis on Thanksgiving Day.
It would be, but like I think last year, like the window that they played on ABC traditionally performed better than Thanksgiving night. Now, of course, the NFL now has an afternoon Black Friday game. So like anything college football has going for it, the NFL has to find a way to put a game in there as well. I don't know. You can go a lot of different ways on it.
On the bright side, at least they're not having Arkansas, Missouri on Black Friday because I think they realized who's getting excited about that game. It's like Penn State, Michigan State. Who gets excited about that game? Nobody. Oh, we'll put it on CBS.
Not now.
Well, Arkansas, Missouri fans don't care about that game. That's one of the funny things is like Arkansas and Missouri fans both agree. I think especially Arkansas fans, they don't like playing that game.
Oh, I don't even think they're playing each other next year. Like I think it's gonna be because I don't think they're on the permanent opponents list for 2026 to 2029. I think it's gonna be because I know LSU's on the permanent opponents list for Arkansas. Well, one of the three.
That's the one I think should go back to the rivalry weekend.
I know, right?
The boot game is fun.
Yeah.
When I think of Black Friday, I always think of Arkansas LSU from the time I was a little boy watching 08, 07. Although I didn't see the only time I didn't see Arkansas LSU on Black Friday was 2009, 2010. Because I should know because I heard Brad Nessler call it Arkansas LSU in 09. And that was when LSU had those little gold helmets and they had the white on white uniforms against Arkansas and they won in overtime against Arkansas. That was the week after they lost to Ole Miss due to clock management blunders. And 2010 was the battle for the Sugar Bowl bid between Arkansas and LSU. That was on CBS. I don't think Vern was calling that game because he was busy calling the Iron Bowl the day prior.
Mm-hmm. There's been fun games in that series. No, look, I can go either way. Honestly, I'm just telling you, State and Ole Miss fans, like the majority really don't like it on Thanksgiving, just because they want to be. It's the travel thing. It's the being able to go to the game. But I understand why people like watching it, and I do wish college football had a really good game Thanksgiving night.
I have an idea for it if it would help.
Sure.
Rotate the SEC game on Thanksgiving Day, like every 2 years, where it's like Egg Bowl every 2 years. Then you see Iron Bowl every 2 years. Nobody's getting excited over Tennessee Vandy. Sorry, you don't make the cut, Tennessee Vandy.
Texas A&M, Texas.
Yes, Texas A&M.
That being back, that used to always be on Thanksgiving, was it not?
Yes. Because I remember it was on Black.
What do they call it? The Lone Star Showdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I remember those games from 08 to 2011. Those were fun. Oh man, it's like,
oh yeah, I miss the old school days, man. I want to be a kid again.
Man,
the 2010s.
And not to go down too far a rabbit hole, but I wish the Big 12 would put BYU Utah on Thanksgiving Day as well. So this way you can put it on HBO Max, TNT, True TV, and also have CBS get a piece of that pie. You know, when you're done airing your NFL game.
If I were running college football, every single one of these big rivalries, one, I would assure, like if it's a team you traditionally played on rivalry weekend for decades and decades, that's when you played. One, you are going to play each other. So like Bedlam, you have to play. I don't care that you're in different conferences. I don't care that, and I know Oklahoma, it's like, well, we lead the all-time series by 1 million games. I don't care. It's your in-state rival. One, you have to play each other. Backyard brawl, you have to play.
Penn State, Pitt, Missouri.
You have to play.
Yes,
Pittsburgh,
I
sure.
was Jackson. I was fixing to bring that up before Andrew started talking.
Well, okay,
Penn
but
State and Pitt needs to come back.
the only thing is I need West Virginia Pitt to be on rivalry weekend. So
Yeah,
backyard brawl is the
I
better
can see
game.
it.
That's the biggest rivalry between the two. They like West Virginia Pitt is the rivalry for those two teams. One, you have to play the games. And some of them, like backyard brawl, like I mentioned, they've been playing the last few years, but they've been playing early in the season. And like Kansas and Missouri played this year early in the season. It's because the conferences do it. Yeah. And even when Oklahoma and Oklahoma State were in the Big 12 together, there were several years they didn't play Bedlam to end the season because the Big 12 was trying to do that thing of like, well, we don't want them to end the season playing each other and then immediately turn around and play each other again in the championship game. And like, I get it. You have to play whoever your biggest rival historically would be for that weekend. Two, it has to be that weekend. And like, we would get all those games this weekend of the season. Ooh. Yeah, it would.
Notre Dame USC is another good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what should. So, obviously, if you think about it, rivalry weekend, Michigan, Ohio State should never be touched, right?
Right.
Sure.
So, bring back on rivalry weekend because it was always there. Michigan State, Penn State was always good on like a noontime Saturday, whatever. Well, not on rivalry weekend every year. It's not.
No.
I mean, it's still played, but it's not.
They kind of mix between like Michigan State, Rutgers, Maryland.
You're right.
Didn't Penn State play freaking Rutgers or whoever last year on rivalry weekend?
It's Rutgers this year.
Or somebody.
It used to be Penn State, Pittsburgh, but then on rivalry week. But then when Penn State joined the Big Ten in 1993, it was Penn State, Michigan State from 1993 to 2010, and then when the Big Ten did that whole Legends Leaders era, they had like Penn State, Wisconsin on rivalry week, which made zero sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that are weird, especially in the Big Ten. They have a lot of rivalries that they just make up names for rivalries in that conference.
Broken chair rivalry.
Well, I think Michigan State, Penn State is one of them. Like it's like the land grant trophy, I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The battle for land grant.
Yep.
Penn State leads the series. Actually only by one game, 19-18-1. I got it right here.
Yep. Man, that's gonna be a battle for bowl eligibility this week.
Right.
2-story programs.
Yep. Not this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I've been really impressed with the Bulldogs this year, especially when we saw that week 2 victory over Arizona State. That was a fantastic finish all the way.
It was a wild game. You know, I saw Mississippi Stating it up. And it was kind of a lot of like, I cannot believe they're doing this in this moment. Crazy atmosphere in Starkville too. Like it was not a sellout. There were a lot of empty seats, but probably one of the loudest games ever, which that they very much did not ring responsibly that night. There was no resting the cowbell when the center got over the ball. The cowbells were going nonstop the entire game, and it was worth it, which technically, while we have the cowbell rules, they do not apply against non-conference opponents. So technically, if we want to, we can just ring the bells whenever we want in those games. But it did get us put on watch. We were kind of told going into the Tennessee game a couple weeks later that the SEC has been alerted to pay close attention to what Mississippi State is doing, what their fans are doing with the cowbells. So we had to be on our best behavior for that game. But the Arizona State game, it was a ton of fun. And to be able to, getting the goal line stop to prevent them from scoring a touchdown there ended up being massive. And then obviously Blake Shapen to Brennan Thompson, which is a play that if you go back and watch it, almost doesn't happen because Arizona State, they send an all-out blitz, and there's a free rusher who is right there going to get to Shapen, but Seydou Traore, State's tight end, basically he's not even trying to chip him. He just happens to run into him and trips him. It's an incidental contact as he's going out to run his route. If that doesn't happen, that Shapen gets sacked because he had to hold the ball a sec to wait for Thompson to get open. But that guy gets taken down. Shapen's able to have time. Brennan scores a touchdown. Crazy finish.
There we go. But I will say I'll be making sure I'm keeping my eye on Mississippi State, Missouri, while I'm keeping my eye on Georgia, Texas, and Florida, Ole Miss, and a few other games for sure. And I will say, if you are looking for top-notch content on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, check out the magic that Andrew Miller and Christian Ballard bring, all right here on Mississippi State at the Voice of College Football. Let's help these gentlemen get to 1,000 subs, ladies and gentlemen. Let's help them get to
Yes,
1,000
sir.
subs. And tell your friends, your family, and cashiers at post about the magic that Christian brings on Ballard Sports Media and the magic that Andrew also brings on Maroon and Sight Nation on Fansided and on SEC Primetime Live Wednesday nights on SEC at the Voice of College Football.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Anytime. Oh man, Andrew face froze for a moment. Oh, there he is. He's back.
It froze on my end too. That was weird. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining in. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, man.
Thanks,
Y'all
Jackson.
stay warm. It's cold out.
Yeah.
I love it. See you later. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks to Jackson for joining in. A lot of fun there. The show's been going long, but it's fun because we've had 3 callers, which I think is the most we've had in the show. So that's a lot of fun. Had a lot of good conversation. Let's make our picks, close out the show for the week. And to recap from a week ago, 8-2 week for me, 7-3 week for you. We both took Texas A&M. We both took Vanderbilt. Both took Bama. Both took Kentucky. Both took Texas Tech. First disagreement was on Oregon, Iowa. I went with the Ducks. You went with the Hawkeyes. So that's where I was able to get one up there. We both took losses. We had Tulane. We had Memphis beating Tulane. Tulane gets the win. We took losses with Virginia. Oh, I missed one. I'm sorry, Christian. I think you actually I had the wrong count on one. Sorry, I'm doing math on the fly here. Yeah. So you had a loss with Iowa, Memphis, Virginia, which I also took a loss with Virginia. Kansas, Arizona, that was another difference. I took Arizona, you went with KU, so that was a loss there. We both took Georgia to win, so we were correct there. 8-2 week for me, 6-4 week for you. On the season, I'm 72-38, got a 4-game lead at 68-42. Because I've got a 4-game lead now with 3 weeks to play, I will pick first on all of these games. So I'm going to give you an opportunity if you see a place where you want to disagree to try to get one up on me, give you that chance and opportunity.
Deal.
So we're going to make our picks. Obviously, with the SEC games, we're not going to talk about the Kentucky and Tennessee games because they're not playing anybody of note. But every other conference game will hit. We'll start off with South Carolina at number 3, Texas A&M. I think the Aggies win this one big.
I agree.
All right. Arkansas at LSU. We were just talking about this rivalry, a game that needs to return to Black Friday or at least Thanksgiving weekend. I like Arkansas to go in and get the upset against the Tigers. I think they're a 5.5-point underdog, but I think Arkansas's offense, even against a good LSU defense, will be able to score. And I still don't trust, even against a bad Arkansas defense, I don't trust LSU's offense.
I'm feeling LSU at home here. They know that there's a 6th win on the line. I feel like they could get it done against Arkansas. I know they fired their coach. Arkansas, not the best team, not anywhere close. Not the worst in terms of how they play or anything. They just really look bad on paper. But I still think LSU is the better team. Both teams, by the way, with interim coaches at the moment. So, yeah, give me the Tigers.
I think we know where you're going to go on this one. Number 11, OU, taking on number 4, Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I like the Tide. I think this is going to be a good game. I think it'll be fairly low scoring. OU's pass rush might give Bama some problems, but look, OU has actually given up a lot of passing yards. For as good as that defense has been, the last couple games against Ole Miss and Tennessee, they've been able to throw it. I trust Ty Simpson to make plays through the air, and I still don't trust OU's offense to be able to do much on the road. So, yeah, I'll take the Tide.
I think John Mateer could have an interesting game, but at the same time, I think that Alabama eventually gets their defense going and makes plays, makes stops when they need to. I also like Ty Simpson, Bernard Williams, and company to have a field day at home, by the way, for the Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, give me the W for Alabama.
Yeah, if Mateer's legs can play a role, maybe they have a chance. But I think Bama will mostly keep them in check. Florida at number 7, Ole Miss, the Lane Kiffin Sweepstakes Bowl. There's a lot of smoke about Lane to Florida, like being more legitimate to the point that Ole Miss people and Ole Miss insiders are actually saying, hey, guys, this is a thing. I don't think it's going to matter in this game, though. I think Lane is locked in. I think whether he goes to Florida or not, he's going to make a statement in this game, especially after last year with Florida ruining Ole Miss's chances. Florida has everybody opted out. I think if you give up 38 points to Kentucky, God knows what Ole Miss will be able to put up on the board against you. Ole Miss wins this one big.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a
Sorry, I froze there.
Okay.
I froze there. Ole Miss is going to win big over Florida. Look, Florida fired Billy Napier. They're still not a good team. Ole Miss is really, really good. Looking to make the playoffs. Looking to potentially make the SEC title game if they could win a game like this and close it out with the Egg Bowl, which obviously we'll talk about on Rivalry Week, I'm sure. But yeah, give me the Rebels.
Yeah, I think it's Ole Miss big. Game of the day, probably in college football, number 10, Texas, on the road at number 5, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Look, I think there's a chance that there's more points in this game than a lot of people think. I think Texas is figuring things out on offense, and I think Arch Manning is playing well. I think everybody wrote him off because of the bad games early, and it's just like, oh, this is the biggest bust ever, all this overhyped, whatever. Arch Manning's actually been playing good football recently. Texas is starting to get some guys figured out at wide receiver, and I think for as bad as their offensive line has been, Georgia doesn't have a great pass rush. So I think there's a chance for Texas to put some points on the board. The other side, though, it's kind of the same way. Texas's defense is really good, but their secondary has been gettable. Mississippi State, Florida, those Vanderbilt threw it on Texas secondary, and I think Gunnar Stockton's been playing really well. So I think you might be I think passing might be at a premium in this game, or you might see more of it than maybe you would think. I'm still going to take Georgia, but I think Texas can keep it close.
I would like to take Texas, but at the same time, Kirby Smart always finds the way to win a game in big moments. I think it's going to be very competitive, very close. I would hope for an upset just for some late season chaos in the SEC. But if I'm going with my gut and what's probably going to happen, Georgia wins this game comfortably at home, maybe by 10 points, something like that. But Texas in a defensive game could keep it competitive.
Where College Game Day will be set up. Pittsburgh, number 22 in the country, hosting number 9 Notre Dame. Pat Narduzzi doing a great job of hyping up his fan base by saying this is not a must-win. It's a rivalry game. You're playing at home. You technically have your playoff hopes on the line, and an opponent that your fan base wants to see you beat, and you say, "Oh, it's not a must-win because they're not in our conference." Great job, Pat, getting your fan base fired up. And just for that, Notre Dame is going to kill Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, I did hear those comments. I'm going to take Notre Dame just because of that. But at the same time, is it possible he was just blowing smoke a little bit and just like, I mean, do they have a trick up their sleeve? They could win the game. But at the same time, I feel like with some of those comments, there's probably a lot of people wanting to be Notre Dame fans, at least for this week, which I never thought I'd say that.
I'll be honest. I would have picked Notre Dame regardless of what he said. It doesn't really impact the game. I think Notre Dame's just a better team. Pitt, I don't think is actually all that good. They're winning football games. They're beating teams they should. I don't think they're a great team. Really good game in the American Conference. Number 24, USF, fresh off their win over, who did they even beat last week? Why am I blanking on who they beat? It was an important UTSA. Going on the road against Navy. The midshipmen, a really good team. This is an important game for the American Conference race. I'm going to stick with USF. Alex Golish going to be a power conference head coach next year. I think he keeps it rolling. I don't think they fall victim on the road.
I think they looked pretty good last week, being near Tampa, like 20 minutes up the road. Go Bulls. I'm riding the Golish train here, and I like this to be the group of 5 team that makes the playoff. And honestly, I think they could be pretty competitive if they get in, man. This is a really good team, and I hate to pull against the service academies or at least pick against them, but you know what? I think South Florida's on a roll here.
So both taking the Bull. So far, just one difference, that
Hmm.
being on the Arkansas LSU game. We'll see if we have one in these last few picks. Number 21, Iowa at number 17, USC. Iowa's playoff hopes kind of dead after taking the loss to Oregon, a heartbreaking loss there in a rainy, cold Kinnick Stadium on a last-second field goal. USC still staying alive. Got the win this past weekend. I think it was Northwestern. Sitting with 2 losses now in the season, so still very much in the mix to go to the playoff. I think they're technically in the mix for the Big Ten race still
Yeah.
in order to get to the Big Ten championship game. I like USC at home. I think USC playing at home, there's just a lot of firepower that will be able to overwhelm Iowa a little bit, and I also don't think their defense is as horrific as it's been in the past. So, yeah, I'll take the Trojans.
I want to go Iowa here just because I think that I was pretty high on them going into the season, not to necessarily make the playoffs or anything, but Iowa, I don't know. I've always uh loved, yeah, their defense, and I'm not the biggest Lincoln Riley fan, nor is really anybody that I know of, at least. USC, they've won the last 2 games, given up 17 in each. That Nebraska game was pretty close. Um, Northwestern was comfortable, which Northwestern actually looks like a better team. But I don't know. I feel like Iowa's in a really good spot right now. I think they know what's ahead of them. I think the same for USC, but I'm feeling a road upset here.
All right, so that'll be our second difference. Christian going with the Hawkeyes out in L.A. We'll take another game on the West Coast, another G5 game, an important game in the Mountain West race. Boise State on the road at San Diego State. Both teams, I believe, coming off losses. Boise losing to Fresno, and San Diego State taking a loss out on the islands to Hawaii. Shout out to the bowl-eligible Rainbow Warriors. Love what's going on for that program. Well, this is an important game for the Mountain West race. I love Sean Lewis at San Diego State. I think he's an awesome coach and a really good offensive mind. And he's done a great job this season. I think I still like Boise a little bit more, so I will take the Broncos to go on the road and get a win.
This is a really late game, 10:30 kickoff time coming up on Saturday night. CBS Sports Network might be a fun game to actually stay up for. It's at San Diego State, who has the better overall record by at least 1 game. Both are 4-1 in the Mountain West. This is a very possible, like, potential rematch in the conference title game. I'm gonna go San Diego State at home here, and bonus prediction, which you don't have to put this down. I think they rematch, and Boise State wins the Mountain West.
There we go. Finally, at long last, here, an hour and 18 plus into the show, Mississippi State at Missouri. I'll go ahead and just make my pick on this. And when Jackson came on, I kind of talked about, thinking that the idea of the Egg Bowl actually being a better matchup for Mississippi State than this one, and I agree. I think it's a bad matchup for Mississippi State. And I really don't even care who's in at quarterback, just to be completely honest with you. I just do not expect State to be able to block Missouri's front enough to find any sort of consistent success on offense. And then on the other side of the ball, I don't think State's going to be able to stop the run game. Texas A&M did not stop Missouri's run game last week. Now, A&M's defense is not great, but it's better than Mississippi State's. They have more talented players than Mississippi State's does. And even though, you may sell out to stop the run, I think Mizzou's going to have a lot of success. I don't think it's just going to be a complete blowout. I could see this State being able to keep it interesting for long enough, but I ultimately think Missouri is just the better team and gets the win. I got the Tigers winning this one 31-20, which I think is the same score I predicted last week for State versus Georgia. In fact, I can confirm. Yeah. Oh, no, I did 30-21 last week for State versus Georgia, which was – I got State's score right. I was pretty off base on the Georgia score. But yeah, 31-20, that's what I'm going with. Tigers.
Like Mississippi State in this game to keep it close and competitive for a while, but I feel like there's going to be a moment in this game where Missouri has the crowd on their back. The Tigers will roar. I got them winning, not that big, but I'm going to say it's by 2 possessions. I'm going to go Mizzou 27, Mississippi State 17.
All right, so both of us with State losing by double digits in this one, but not total beatdowns. Yeah, I think 27-17, that's another realistic score. Just, again, you look at the team, and I think Missouri's a team you have a chance to have a shot against. I just think the matchup is really poor for the Bulldogs. So, yeah, both of us in agreement there, taking Missouri to get the win. Hopefully, I am wrong. That'll do it for us tonight. You will see me late night, Saturday, probably really late, depending on when I'm able to get stuff done, written about this game, with a post-game reaction show talking about whatever happens between Missouri and Mississippi State. Hopefully our predictions are wrong, and we're talking about a Bulldog win, and we're talking about going to a bowl game. But regardless, we'll be breaking down whatever happened late night Saturday with the post-game show. And then obviously next week will be we're undecided on the next week's schedule because obviously State's on a bye. And what that means is we may only go once. I know that's what we did earlier this year. We'll see how we handle that, what we choose to do for the bye week breakdown, which is going to be important. We'll definitely be starting to talk about the Egg Bowl because that's going to be such a huge game for Mississippi State, regardless of whether they win this one or not. It's a huge game every single year because it's the Egg Bowl. So no set schedule for next week yet. We'll figure that out, and we'll get that out to everyone. But Saturday night, you'll be able to check in the post game. We'll talk about whatever happens here. And then, next week at some point, we'll be looking ahead. Appreciate everyone who did tune in. If you haven't already, please leave us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. And if you could share us around, help us continue to get more subscribers, we would certainly appreciate that. Thanks to Christian. As always, swing your sword and Hail State.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.